The story of Star Wars is generally a tale of good versus evil, filled with characters that solidify their stance in the matter through the actions they take on their respective journeys. It's through these actions that these characters transform from just everyday people into legends. This begs the question, which character is the best? Many may give one or various answers. I believe there are quite a few. So my goal in this series is to intensely analyze the characters I believe fit this mold, and make a case for them as the greatest Star Wars character of all time. The character I want to look at today is Anakin Skywalker, or Darth Vader. Anakin is undoubtedly one of the most iconic characters in Star Wars as the main protagonist of the prequels and the main antagonist of the original trilogy. In this multi-part analysis, I want to go over how Anakin's ideals, philosophy, and journey as a character molds the themes of Star Wars as a whole, and how he transforms from a virtuous young boy that only wanted to bring good into the galaxy to a troubled young man that fell from grace into the darkness and chose evil, only to be brought back to the light as a redeemed hero. Anakin was first introduced to audiences in the original trilogy as Darth Vader, the evil Sith Lord and supreme commander of the Empire, only second in line to the Emperor himself. He was the shadow that brought darkness to the galaxy and the ideal nemesis to the hero in Luke Skywalker. But in order to fully understand how he became the archetypal villain, we must look at the journey he took to get there, as his experiences are what molded him into the Dark Lord of the Sith that we meet in A New Hope. And so, the Chosen One's story begins in Episode 1 on the desert planet of Tatooine, with his home being a representation of Anakin's circumstance. Being a desert, his environment is dry, barren, and lifeless, with nothing on the horizon, truly emphasizing his lack of freedom, as similar to his owner, the sandy wasteland has enslaved him to continuously live a life on this desolate world. And when we meet him, his simple rugged clothing is used to emphasize his humble beginnings along with the desert planet that he lives on and his role as a slave. But by the will of the Force, fate would shine upon the young boy as travelers from another part of the galaxy would stumble upon him and Watto's shop, and from then on, their destinies would be intertwined with one another. Right from the start, we get to see a bit of the dynamic that Anakin has with his owner in Watto. Watto is critical of Anakin, viewing him mostly as an asset to make money. So when Anakin shows any hindrance to that, Anakin is met with negative reinforcement. It's following this that his interaction with Padme would establish Anakin as a character, giving us insight to his characteristics, perspective, and story.
Are you an angel?
What?
An angel. I heard the deep space pilots talk about them. They're the most beautiful creatures in the universe.
You're a funny little boy.
They call him the Chosen One for a reason, as Anakin has more game than the average male adult, which makes you wonder where it all went once he hit puberty. But I digress. That's an analysis for another video. But really, Anakin shows that he's not afraid to speak his mind, as he has much confidence talking to Padme even at the young age of 9. Him forming this as a question is either good game or him showing his youth and naivety. It shows that he hasn't really experienced much of the galaxy. He's only lived on Tatooine, so he eagerly and curiously listens to what outsiders that have traveled from other planets have to say about those star systems. This gives him some sense of what's going on in the world and allows him to live a bit vicariously through them.
How do you know so much?
I listen to all the traders and star pilots who come through here.
Being a slave, he's limited to what he gets to do and when and who he can interact with. So he relishes in these moments where he can simply talk to others, as it gives him a window or a glimpse into the life of freedom and adventure that he yearns for.
I'm a pilot, you know, and someday I'm gonna fly away from this place.
You're a pilot?
All my life.
For one, this shows Anakin's immense natural skills and hard work and dedication to his craft, as accomplishing this feat is incredible for someone his age, highlighted by Padme's surprise. And as a pilot, similar to a bird, Anakin wants to spread his wings and fly, but he's caged to this planet and his owner. This also emphasizes how he doesn't enjoy Tatooine or think very highly of it, not looking at it as a home, rather a prison, where he's just another inmate dreaming of breaking free from the chains.
How long have you been here?
Since I was very little. 3, I think. My mom and I were sold to Gardula the Hutt, but she lost us betting on the pod races.
You're a slave?
I'm a person, and my name is Anakin.
Anakin obviously detests the idea of being a slave, emphasized by the fact that he wants people to call him by his name, as that's the thing he identifies with. Being a slave has him feel like he's of lesser value than others. He's been called it so often that he may be starting to believe it, so he verbally rejects it whenever he can. And the ones that are okay with this concept are no better to him than the ones who buy and sell people as though if they were objects. This shows the importance of Anakin's mother, as she was one of, if not the only person in his life who treated him as an equal and truly saw him and others that way. From this alone and the implied rougher upbringing from Gardulla and Watto and others like Sebulba, it can be inferred that Anakin dealt with abuse as a slave. Whether it was verbal or physical, it's something that shaped him to be the person that he is now, and a mental scar that he would have to deal with throughout his life.
I'm sorry. I don't fully understand. This is a strange place to me.
This really lays the foundation of who Anakin is and his backstory, as it's this dark past and upbringing that gives him a perspective that's very different from everyone else, as he wants to be more idealistic like Padme, and he is for the most part, but because of his experiences in life, there's always a pragmatic, cynical, or realistic voice in his head that says otherwise. Basically, a devil on his shoulders, showing why he needs guidance, as he currently has it with his mother, but if he were to lose her, the path becomes murky and complicated, emphasizing the importance of a guardian angel, or a mentor even.
Wouldn't have lasted long anyways if I wasn't so good at building things.
Anakin shows further resentment towards Watto, and rightfully so, showing this complex that he's built over the years. Also, Anakin alludes to the fact that he's an extremely talented engineer and mechanic. Not only does this skill show his impressive intelligence, particularly for his age, but also the fact that this idea of being able to build and, more importantly, fix things comes easy to him. So in the same way that he can do that, he hopes that this can be the case in all aspects of life, as he always tries to fix every problem that comes his way, as he's very much a person of action. This is why he always believes that there's a way to save everyone, and he will stop at nothing to do so, putting his life on the line time and time again for others, as he believes that they would and should do the same for him. Unfortunately, he would learn that not all things can be so easily fixed, and not everyone can always be saved, and that would frustrate him as an obstacle he would need to learn to overcome.
I'm glad to have met you, Anakin.
I was glad to meet you too.
Not bad, kid. Not bad.
Utmians, tinka me chasa hopo ma putina noya.
Lolova Numatafa.
Despite his upbringing, Anakin shows that he always tries to have a positive perspective, and his crush on Padme might also have something to do with his response. But even after these travelers leave the shop, Anakin would find himself coming across them yet again, as they would be truly out of their element.
Chesko Sebulba, Chapurka Umangisa, Mitisa Radical Vanapichapachawa.
Anakin's confidence shows yet again, this time in a high-pressure situation where Jar Jar's life is on the line. This is also an example of how Anakin will fiercely fight for others that can't do so for themselves, and even more so for his friends. If he sees something wrong or an injustice, he must intervene and do what he believes is right, to the point that he may be reckless or impulsive at times. Whatever Anakin does, he chooses to do so with 100% effort, and it shows here.
Thanks, my young friend.
Others like Qui-Gon value this compassion and bravery by Anakin, as he's someone whose philosophy is easy to get behind, and he's a person who others are motivated to fight alongside.
Do you have shelter?
We'll head back to our ship.
You'll never reach the outskirts in time. Come on, I'll take you to my place.
Anakin shows the big heart that he has. He barely knows these people, but he treats them like family and welcomes them into his home. In many cases, such as this one, it's easy for others to simply dismiss it as, that's not my problem. But Anakin decides to do what many others won't, and that's care for others, as we see compassion is arguably the strongest trait that he possesses.
These are my friends, Mom.
Your son was kind enough to offer us shelter.
Anakin is again quick to open himself to others, as he already considers these strangers his friends. And he also shows that he has a good sense of judgment with people's character, as he can distinguish good from bad in the likes of those like Qui-Gon and his team, and Sebulba.
I'm building a droid. You want to see? Come on, I'll show you 3PO. He's a protocol droid to help Mom.
Anakin flexes yet again his ability to build things, and what's more impressive is his reasoning for doing so, as he does it to help his mother. This highlighting his selfless ways, as almost every action Anakin does is with the intention of benefiting others. His mother raised him well, despite the cruel hand that life has dealt them. Again, this guidance has benefited him greatly, keeping him on the straight and narrow path to do good.
I can't believe there's still slavery in the galaxy. The Republic's anti-slavery laws
The
are...
Republic doesn't exist out here. We must survive on our own.
Shmi has accepted the hard truth about their situation, and as a result, it's been passed down to Anakin. Even at an extremely young age, Anakin has had to find ways to survive on his own, only trusting in his mother, as in his eyes, the very concept of government or democracy is non-existent. While the Republic does their best to help everyone living in the Outer Rim, he was born into a system that is flawed and, more importantly, unlike the Hutt cartels and slave owners, on the side that it most negatively affects. This furthers the idea that Anakin has learned to trust people and not necessarily the government or the ideals that they stand on, as they've only ever failed him.
Has anybody ever seen a pod race?
They're pod racing on Malastare. Very fast, very dangerous.
Anakin quickly changes the subject as again the topic makes him uneasy, compared to his mother who openly talks about it. Although Anakin is not so complacent with her situation, so he searches for change, which is why he wants to take action.
All slaves have a transmitter placed inside their body somewhere.
I've been working on a scanner to try and locate mine.
Any attempt to escape.
And they blow you up.
Boom! Ha, word!
It really is, but what's not are Anakin's skills as a pod racer.
I'm the only human who can do it.
You must have Jedi reflexes if you race pods. Don't do that again.
A foreshadowing of the raw potential with the Force that Anakin possesses, as one must be able to see things happen before they do to be equipped for such a dangerous sport, something the Jedi know as precognition, an ability they use frequently to defend themselves in combat, from deflecting blaster bolts and crossing blades with a Sith Lord, giving Qui-Gon more than enough reason to deduce that Anakin could become a Jedi Knight. And speaking of deduction,
You're a Jedi Knight, aren't you?
What makes you think that?
I saw your laser sword. Only Jedis carry that kind of weapon.
Anakin shows his observant and perceptive nature to work out the truth for himself. Also, the fact that he puts Qui-Gon on the spot shows his confident and brash nature yet again, as he's not afraid of being potentially confrontational with another person.
Perhaps I killed a Jedi and took it from him.
I don't think so. No one can kill a Jedi.
I wish that was so.
Anakin still has an optimistic mindset through and through. He likes to see the best in others and clearly idolizes the Jedi and their abilities. Much like we may look at our own heroes through rose-colored glasses, as they can be seen as perfect people. But the reality is they can be deeply flawed like the rest of us. And unfortunately as well, bad things can happen to good people. Much like Anakin and Shmi being slaves, the Jedi are more than capable of being killed. At a young age we believe this isn't the case, being more optimistic, credulous, or naive. But as we gain experience of both the good and bad, our perception changes. What's important is what actions we take with that newfound perception.
I had a dream I was a Jedi. I came back here and freed all the slaves. Have you come to free us?
No.
I think you have. Why else would you be here?
Anakin truly is an optimist, and a virtuous person too. Even in his dreams, where he enters a world that is entirely his own, he still wants a better and brighter future for others. Anakin truly believes that anything is possible, and that benefits him here as his dreams show him the blueprint to a better world for all to live in. However, when those dreams become nightmares, he takes them as potential truths as well, and he forgets to live. This also shows the expectation that Anakin has in others, as he wants to always see the best in them, believing that they will do the right thing when given the opportunity. So it's confusing for him when he finally meets a Jedi, a type of person that he wishes to be, and receives a response that doesn't match his expectations. He sees things in a very black and white way, either you're taking action to help others, or you're not. There is no in between. This being part of the absolute mentality he would take on for the rest of his life. He will fiercely fight alongside those that are on his side trying to help others, but once he senses betrayal, you will feel his wrath.
We're on our way to Coruscant.
Our ship was damaged and we're stranded here until we can repair it.
I can help. I can fix anything.
Anakin's immediate reaction, as usual, is to help. He sees that others are in need, and his altruistic nature and moral compass lead him to helping others every time.
I built a racer, fastest ever. There's a big race tomorrow on Boonta Eve. You could enter my pod. You could make him think it was yours and get him to let me pilot it for you.
Not only is Anakin a more than generous person, but he also shows the cunning nature Obi-Wan would speak of, as he's quick to come up with a plan to get the team out of their situation. A far better idea than any of them had had to this point. Also, again, expecting nothing in return, simply for the sake of doing the right thing.
I don't want you to race. It's awful. I die every time Walter makes you do it.
But Mom, I love it.
Anakin again shows his love for being a pilot. While it may be something that puts fear in others for his health and safety, like his mother, the rush he feels when he takes flight is like no other, as he feels more alive when he does it than anything else. Flying is what he wants to do, and it's fitting as it's a metaphor of being free, as you're unconstrained from the rest of the world, where being constrained is something that he feels in his own life, in every sense of the word.
The prize money would more than pay for the parts they need. Mom, you say the biggest problem in this universe is nobody helps each other.
And in the simplest form, this is exactly what Anakin feels he's meant to do. To be part of the solution and actively help others. Knowing better than anyone what it's like to be on the other side. Hoping that someone would help him and his mother.
We'll find some other way.
No, there is no other way. I may not like it, but he can help you. He was meant to help you.
This foreshadowing his destiny as the Chosen One, as Anakin's one purpose in life is to help others. That much he knows, and he's willing to do so no matter the cost. His mother recognizes this as well and allows him to make the choice himself, as she knows how much the rest of the world has already caged him in, and she won't do the same to him.
There's something about this boy.
Not only is there something special about Anakin as a person, but his power in the Force as well, as others like Qui-Gon sense it in him.
You should be very proud of your son. He gives without any thought of reward.
Well, he knows nothing of greed.
As Anakin's mother and soon-to-be father figure converse, they revere the type of person that he is, and Anakin's the way that he is due to the guidance and wisdom Shmiz bestowed upon him to show him the difference between right and wrong, and good and evil, as his environment, being in a world full of gangsters like the Hutts and slave owners and traders, could have just as easily left him jaded and cynical about his future. Ironically as well, this environment or circumstance of being a slave has given Anakin the power of lacking greed and replacing it entirely with compassion. As he comes from nothing, so he understands what it's like more than anyone to live in a position of weakness rather than strength. As a strong man who has known power all his life may lose respect for that power, but a weak man knows the value of strength and knows compassion. Anakin's mother has shown him the right way to do things, that even if the world has wronged you, it doesn't mean that you should do the same to it. So Anakin in turn gives every ounce of himself to doing the right thing.
He has
special powers.
Yes.
He can see things before they happen. That's why he appears to have such quick reflexes. It's a Jedi trait.
The Force at times, like this one, is used as a way to highlight the type of person that the user is, as Anakin is both special because of his potential with the Force and his virtuous character traits.
He deserves better than a slave's life.
A true statement for everyone, and it's amplified in a person like Anakin, as there isn't any malice in his heart, he simply wants to do good by others.
The Force is unusually strong with him. That much is clear. Who was his father?
There was no father. I carried him, I gave birth, I raised him. I can't explain what happened. Can you help him?
I don't know.
Here we get some insight into Anakin's backstory, as he truly seems to be a boy of destiny as the soon-to-be crowned Chosen One. The Force has a mysterious way of working, as life does sometimes too, and it willed him into existence, whether by fate or direct cause of another's doing. In any case, he's here now, and it's for a reason greater than their own. There's also definite parallels to Christianity and Jesus and his birth from the Virgin Mother Mary, as Jesus was born and died to absolve everyone's sins. And in the case of Anakin, he's here with the purpose to bring balance to the Force. However, Anakin is just a boy, one with extraordinary gifts, but still very human and is capable of making mistakes and being deeply flawed and having feelings of conflict. So his choices, in spite of those feelings, would determine his path to bringing balance to the Force. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. I had a ton of fun making this video, so if you enjoyed it too, then I highly suggest liking the video. And if you want to see more like it, then definitely hit subscribe. And if you want to be notified when part 2 comes out, then hit the bell for notifications, or consider checking out my Patreon, where I'll be uploading videos there significantly sooner than on YouTube. So part 2 should be there available as I speak, and the same will apply to the next parts when they come out. And on that note, I want to give a shout out to my patrons. Your support means everything to me. And finally, let me know in the comments which Star Wars character has the greatest control over their destiny and why. And who knows, they might be in the next one. Until next time, try spinning. It's a good trick.